When you look at this poll, 18% of people polled only a matter of days ago think that Truss is doing a good job. 18%, 51% say she could quit. Now, winter's upon the country, the likelihood of energy bills, flu cases, staff shortages. What is the mood as the voters confront all of this? How would you sum it up?
Oh, it's pretty dire. It's pretty dire because they still are not. They're not warm to a Labor government here. They're really not. I do ask about the Keir Starmer effect. Do you think it's him? Can he be Prime Minister? And it's the same response, Alan. They're not stoked about Keir Starmer here. And this is very interesting as well. I had dinner last night with someone who worked for Jeremy Corbyn and was a Labor strategist, but wasn't from the far left. And he's at the conference because he is the head of trade unions in North England. So to be seen as basically having good relations with the government of the day has to attend the conference. But interesting what he said about Keir Starmer. You would think someone who had a very esteemed legal career would tell the truth all the time. What he said was that Keir Starmer has a very poor relationship with the truth. And he virtually undermined Jeremy Corbyn from day one. He's also a man who voted against Brexit 6 times. He is very Machiavellian, Keir Starmer. And the problem that we've got now is because the Tories are because there is so much infighting amongst the Conservative Party, the public they're not turning their attention to their opponents, and that is Labor and Keir Starmer, and really getting into Keir Starmer, because apparently if the public knew who the real Keir Starmer was, they wouldn't like what they saw.
All right, 2 questions before you go. 2 questions. That's brilliant. Your exposition's outstanding. Firstly, your view. I'll put you on the heap here. Is it your view that Truss and Kwarteng will survive long enough to see whether this pays off?
I think Kwarteng. Look, they want someone too early to install Truss. They say if they do remove Truss, though, that it will have to. They cannot go through another leadership contest. That is the consensus here. Cannot have more months of division. So if someone were installed as a new leader, it would basically be, they're the only candidate, therefore less division. Kwasi cannot make it. They're already trying to recruit Sir John Redwood, who was in charge of the
John Redwood, for our viewers' sake, John Redwood contested. Sorry to interrupt you, Jake. Yeah. John Redwood is a veteran. He's about 70 years of age, but very, very well credentialed, and contested the leadership twice, I think, when Kenneth Clark and Heseltine and all those people were candidates. So Redford, he would be an interesting and informed candidate. The other thing I want to ask you before you go, of all these people that you've met and seen and heard and talked to, who was the most impressive?
Well, look, it would have to be the former Cabinet Minister, Michael Gove. He's very impressive, has a bit of a reputation for being a snake, but who in politics isn't? That's how you climb the greasy pole, so I don't hold that against him. But he was just so insightful when it came to these. Look, we're all for tax cuts. I've never met anyone who loves higher taxes. But the problem was, and he articulated this, you cannot. What do you say to the electorate when Conservatives are meant to be the prudent economic managers? And we saw in Australia what happens there. Once you lose that mantle, it is really hard to regain. Really hard.
Well done.
Your credibility's on the line. So he basically said this is not the Conservative way. He's not a rebel. But this proposal was never taken to Cabinet. The optics are terrible. And that is not how you level up. See, in 2019, the people who voted for Boris Johnson in the West Midlands, and by the way, the Conservative Mayor of the West Midlands, Andy Street, welcomed the U-turn because he knows that the electorate, it was going down like a lead balloon. And look, it was a small part of the mini budget, but that's not the point. The point is optics, it was a distraction, and they've got to move on. And it can't just be this blanket, let's just cut tax